Happy Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. It's time for your tropical forecast update. Of course, we are right around the peak of hurricane season. The actual peak September 10th. We're a couple days behind that or after that, and we are going to be dealing still with very active weather in the tropics, especially in the Atlantic basin. So I'm here, of course, to update you on everything happening out there in the tropics and let you know if we have anything headed here and where we have some of those strong tropical cyclones out there. Well, to answer your question about if we have anything headed to Southeast Texas, the answer is no. We have been fortunate so far this season to not have any tropical systems head our way. Even when they rolled into the Gulf of Mexico, they turned and went in the opposite direction. So we have been fortunate so far, and we have made it to that peak, or right around that peak of hurricane season, which was just a couple days ago. We're still going to be in a very busy part of hurricane season, at least historically, probably for the next month or so before things start to wind down a bit as we get into late October and November. But for now, you definitely need to stay alert. Even though we don't have anything headed here, there's still the potential that systems could still potentially head into the Caribbean and roll into the Gulf of Mexico, or maybe form in the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to be monitoring things closely. But right now, all of the potential problems from impacts from these tropical cyclones will stay far away from us. So let's talk about where we could have some impacts and what we have out there. We still have major Category 3 Hurricane Lee now in the western Atlantic, and we also still have Hurricane Margot in the central Atlantic. Margot is not expected to have any major impacts to land anytime soon, as it is way out there in the Atlantic and it is drifting north. However, Hurricane Lee is pushing off to the west-northwest, but fortunately it stayed to the north of the Lesser Antilles. It remains north of Puerto Rico. It's going to stay north of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, north of the Bahamas, and it's going to stay away from the Florida coast and the Carolinas. So we can be thankful for that. But doesn't it look impressive? It kind of weakened a bit, but it is starting to get its act together. You could see that eye wall still looking a little disorganized, a little ragged there, but it is starting to form and become more defined once again. Of course, Lee once was a Category 5 super dangerous hurricane, but now it is a Category 3. But you can see those rain bands, those darker colors, showing some of the convection in this, the showers and storms, and it does have all of that warm water out there and not much shear, so it's able to breathe and develop and grow. Now, the hurricane hunters have been flying through Lee, investigating it and measuring different things in it. Of course, the temperature, the wind speeds, what's going on with it, checking out the waves and other things happening beneath it. So they are going to be updating us with the latest. But for now, it does maintain that major Category 3 hurricane status. You can see it is north of Puerto Rico. There's San Juan there, there's Haiti and Dominican Republic, and over here would be the Bahamas. So at least it's going to stay well to the north of all of those Caribbean islands, and it will start to make more of a northerly turn over the next few days. Now here's Bermuda. We are going to have Lee likely get fairly close to Bermuda by late Thursday and Friday. So there's a tropical storm watch there, but more importantly, look what's going to happen as we go into this weekend. We could have some impacts right here in the U.S. up towards Boston and other portions of New England into Maine. There could be some strong wind, heavy rain, and of course there's going to be dangerous surf, rip currents, because this is a large system. So even outside of that eye wall, it's going to have pretty widespread impacts with those tropical storm force winds extending out quite a bit and the hurricane force winds extending out a large amount. By Saturday, New England; by Sunday, likely up towards Nova Scotia in Canada. So here is the latest with Hurricane Lee. Maximum sustained winds are still right around 115 miles per hour. Movement to the northwest at 7 miles per hour, and we've got pressure at 946 millibars. So that northwest movement will continue likely for the next 24 hours, and then it's going to make more of a northerly turn as it starts to get closer to Bermuda. So this is the latest 4 p.m. advisory. Let me show you what it's going to do for the next few days. Wednesday afternoon, maybe a little bit weaker. Thursday afternoon down to 100 miles per hour. So it likely will weaken a bit to a Category 2 as it gets close to Bermuda Thursday evening, Thursday night, and Friday morning. That's when a tropical storm warning could be issued for Bermuda. Right now they are under a tropical storm watch. After Lee passes west of Bermuda, it will continue to track to the north, and by Saturday, right around 1 p.m., it's going to be just to the east of Boston, south of Nova Scotia, and near Maine. So this is the cone of uncertainty. So with a slight westward shift with this, we could have Lee making landfall as a Category 1 hurricane into portions of Maine. More of a westward shift could bring it closer to Boston. So the northeast U.S. certainly not out of the woods yet. So we're going to have to monitor this closely because they could be in store for some very strong wind gusts, maybe hurricane force winds, several inches of rain. Of course, a tornado threat is always there with landfalling systems and some very choppy seas out there. So certainly not the time you want to be out by the coast. So we're going to be monitoring the U.S. northeast coast closely because Lee could pose some big problems later this week. Here is that projected wind field with Lee, and notice that those winds extend out quite a bit, and they are actually going to intercept portions of Bermuda as we go into late Thursday and early Friday. So tropical storm force winds looking likely for Bermuda. So they'll likely be under a tropical storm warning pretty soon, and we will see Bermuda potentially go under that warning, maybe with the next advisory. But for New England, there could be some advisories and alerts coming out later this week. So, of course, Lee remains a potential problem for the U.S., so we will be monitoring it closely. Fortunately for Hurricane Margot, even though it is a hurricane, it is continuing to maintain Category 1 hurricane strength. It is out in the central Atlantic, and it is not expected to impact land. It is drifting to the north around 14 miles per hour, and it still has winds around 80 miles per hour, pressure at 977 millibars. So it should remain a Category 1 hurricane for the next few days. In fact, all the way through Friday afternoon, 75 mile per hour winds. Then by Saturday afternoon, those winds should drop to 60 miles per hour as it weakens to a tropical storm. As it continues to push north, it's going to run into that cooler water, and it should gradually be weakening. So no major issues expected from Margot since it's not expected to impact land, but of course we'll have to watch Lee, which is still a major hurricane, very closely. We are also monitoring and watching another system far in the eastern Atlantic, and this is Invest 97L and 98L. Now yesterday, these were considered two separate tropical waves or tropical disturbances. However, we did expect the stronger wave, which is 98L, to kind of swallow 97L, and they will combine and become one. So that process is happening right now. So both of those systems are merging, and we will have a stronger tropical wave come out of that, and that tropical wave has a very high chance to become a depression or a tropical storm or hurricane over the next week. So for the next 48 hours, just a 20% chance for development. That is low, but over the next 7 days, an 80% chance that we could have another tropical cyclone on our hands, and it is developing farther south. So it's eventually going to make more of a northwest turn, but it could be an issue for portions of the Lesser Antilles, the Caribbean. Right now, it looks like it probably won't head towards the Gulf, but it could have some impacts several days down the road for maybe portions of the East Coast. The next name on the list would be Nigel, so that would likely be the name that system would get unless we had something develop before it became a tropical storm. As far as our spaghetti computer models, we do show that Invest 98L will continue to track basically west-northwest, and then it will make a little bit more of a northwesterly turn as we go into late this week and next week. Let's kind of do a recap of what we've had so far this year for our 2023 hurricane season. We've already had 14 named storms, 5 hurricanes. Of course, when Margot became a hurricane, that was the 5th hurricane of the Atlantic Basin season. And we've already had 3 major hurricanes. So this is what we have normally in an average season based from 1991 to 2020, 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. So we have already gotten extremely close to what we would normally have in an average hurricane season. And it's still in the middle of September. So we've still got about 2.5 months to go. So it looks like it will most likely be an above average season as the Colorado State University forecasters were predicting and as the NOAA forecast predicted as well. I want to show you also some long-range models for our 2 hurricanes that we have out there, but I want to focus on Hurricane Lee, which is the one that could make landfall or impact portions of the U.S. East Coast. You can see by Thursday, 11 p.m., we've got those tropical storm force winds and heavy rain sliding pretty close to Bermuda, just west of Bermuda, so they could have some strong wind. But I wanted to show you what happens around Saturday, 3 p.m. Notice what is left of Lee. It's probably still going to be a Category 1 hurricane by then, getting pretty close, uncomfortably close to Boston and other portions of New England. So that is why we're going to have to monitor Lee closely. Then it kind of pushes up into Canada and it should weaken fairly quickly. We also still have Margot out here. Like I said, it's not going to impact land. It's going to move north. You see Lee getting close to New England by this weekend. And then we're closely monitoring Invest 97L and 98L because, like I said, it's developing farther south and could have some impact several days from now to the U.S. East Coast. So those are the two systems that we're tracking closely. But fortunately for us, the Gulf of Mexico remains quiet. The Caribbean Sea remains quiet. So very good news there. But as I've been talking about for the last several days, the last several weeks, we've still got some super warm water out there. Temperatures well into the 80s, close to 90 degrees in the Gulf, and water temps still in the 80s for the central portion of the Atlantic, the Western Atlantic as well. We've got water temps close to 90 degrees. So definitely warm water out there to still help to develop and fuel these systems as they pop up. So we still could have additional tropical cyclones, tropical storms, hurricanes that could develop as we go through the remainder of our hurricane season. We've already gone through several names. Of course, Lee and Margo are the current hurricanes. If 97 and 98L develop over the next few days or next several days, the next name on that list would be Nigel, and then we would have this final panel of names to get through. So it has already been a super active season, and we've still got more to go. Nothing heading towards southeast Texas, but of course we will continue to track what is out there, and you always want to be prepared. Make sure that you have your hurricane emergency kit, have a plan in place, know your evacuation routes, make sure you cover going over that insurance, making sure you have the coverage that you need with your family so that you will be prepared in case we do have tropical systems headed our way. Also, make sure to grab our Fox 26 weather app. You can get tropical weather updates any time of the day or night, forecast cones, lots of cool features on there and important features that will alert you if we have something coming. And of course, you can get any kind of tropical storm or hurricane watches or warnings on there as well. All right, that'll do it for your update for this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. Enjoy the rest of your day.